When you're a amateur scientist, or more accurately, a wannabe scientist, or or not a scientist, when you realize that an actual bona fide scientist agrees with you or had similar ideas to your ideas, then a very cool, interesting feeling that comes over you, which is being proud of yourself, being impressed by yourself. In this case, myself. So, anyways, the very same scientist that agreed with me, or halfway agreed with me, unknowingly, of course, that gravity does not cause time dilation, but that it's actually backwards, or that it might be backwards. That time dilation creates the effect that we call gravity. He pretty much stops there. I keep going and describe what creates time dilation. But anyways, though, at least for that small part, he unknowingly agrees with me. Dr. Matt Odad, I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly, again has agreed with me, or at least he quotes another scientist that seemingly agrees with me. So this video is going to be me bragging that an actual bona fide scientist agrees with me. The idea that he seemingly unknowingly agrees with is the idea that I cover in the video, a question that can drive you insane. In there, I asked the question, if the past is 13 billion years big and the future is at least equally or greater, or maybe infinitely bigger, how big is the present? Is it instantaneous, or is it in amount of time? Either possible answer doesn't quite make sense. And so Mr. Odad, or Dr. Odad, asks the same question in a much more concise, clear way than I could have possibly ever imagined to ask the question.
If only the instant exists, what is that instant? Is it a very short stretch of time, like one Planck unit of time? Or is it a truly instantaneous stretch of 0 seconds?
I'll link the full video of Spacetime. That's the name of his YouTube channel. I'll link it at the in the description or at the end. I'll figure that out later. And he goes on in that same video to describe what I describe, which is that there is no such thing as the present, which is what Einstein would say, that there is no such thing as the past, present, or future, that it's just one continuation of time, indistinguishable one from the other. That exactly the same way that the entirety of space exists simultaneously, so does time. So in other words, in your birth in the past, or your death in the future, both of those exist simultaneously. Even though I know that I'm misusing the word simultaneously for this type of descriptions, like I said before, words do not exist to cover this. So hopefully I'm making my point, that the enormity of time, just like the enormity of space, exists simultaneously, so does time. So in other words, what I get from that, what I've mentioned before from a religious perspective, what I get from that is that in essence the universe has memory. The universe records everything, every minute detail of every moment through your life. In other words, how I like to think of it is that everything you do matters because it's being recorded. So in essence, what I thought was a Coco for Cuckoo Pups idea, not even an idea, a question that I used to relax, to detach myself from reality, turned out to be an actual bona fide, open scientific question. I've actually, this is not the first or even the second time that this has happened. I've actually had quite a few, not complete ideas, but segments of ideas, I guess, that later on turned out to be related to actual scientific, either open questions or ideas, or even scientific theories. Maybe I'll make a video about those eventually. But what is a little bit more interesting to me than me just having thoughts that other people have had, completely unrelated or completely uninspired by each other, is that what is actually more interesting to me about what I just described is how similar, how alike we actually are. How our brains, how our minds crave pretty much exactly the same things. So I guess that's it for today. Before I end the video, I thought I would mention an idea that I'm currently working on, very much related to what I just described, about the now either being instantaneous or a certain amount of time, and maybe contradicting Einstein. Einstein, of course, saying that the now does not exist, that the past, present, and future are indistinguishable, that there is just one continuation of the same thing. So I'm trying to consider the opposite of that. What if the now does actually exist? But not as a length of time, but as a level of consciousness. For example, a goldfish now related to its consciousness would hardly even exist, right? Or at least compared to our now, to our consciousness, it would be, in a sense, much smaller than our now or our consciousness. Also, in that very same sense, the now of God would be the entirety of time and space, the entirety of the universe. So maybe the now, our now, is a limitation on how we are able to view the earth, to absorb reality. Maybe instead of the now being an amount of time, either zero or some very extremely small blank size of time, maybe the now is the size, in a way of speaking, the size of our consciousness. It's just an idea. I don't know if it's even a good idea. I guess that's it.